Welcome back to this Improbable Dream. In the last time around, the protagonist Kakeru tried to do something which is really out of his comfort zone, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him as he tried to do it. But let's proceed onwards. Class is about to end, with roughly 10 minutes left until the bell rings. I've been struggling to concentrate all day thanks to the fear of what I'm about to do. Once I get to the music club, facing these poor guys I stood up on Saturday is not going to be pleasant. Haruka and I hadn't met up at lunch, and part of me is slightly disappointed. Although my nerves have been through the roof today, maybe it's best if I haven't tried to mix with anyone so far, even if it had been Haruka. Don't say that to yourself, man! Come on now. Exhaling my worries quietly, I start to pack my things away when I catch sight of the time, which seems to have gone quickly during this last class. This is going to be a bit of a tough situation. Agony, what happened on Saturday? All four of them look at me in anticipation and the attention feels horrible. God's sake. I did go with Haruka's suggestion after all, much more simple than the truth, and not a million miles away from it either. I felt like rubbish for the last 2 days. Though I'm not looking directly at them, I can make out the guys' general reactions to my reply. They don't seem too upset, nodding their heads and glancing at each other. I thought it might have been something like that. We never gave you any of our numbers, did we? Nope, not at all. I shake my head and some of them start laughing, hope not maniacally. Yeah, that was a dumb move to start with. Someone should have thought of that. Are you feeling better now? Think so. No! You're not feeling better at all. That's good then. I'm slightly taken aback by their concern for my health, having figured that these people were a bit rowdier than they're acting now. I guess they're reining in a bit, thanks to my painfully shy nature. Either that or I misjudged them. Come on, man. Not everyone is out there to leech off of you. You should have told them the truth, man. You should have told them what really happened. Yeah, let's not make that mistake again. Next time, okay, next time. Good God, I don't even manage this time before I can reply someone else speaks up. Why don't we just add him to the group? Be like a WhatsApp group or something? Oh yeah, good idea. One of the boys gets his phone out, showing me a group chat that they seem to be have going on through their social media accounts. Looks like all 4 of them are included in it. But social media is something which we don't thrive in. While my initial reaction is to decline, I realise I definitely find it easier to talk to people through messages than face to face. Yep, because it's just words on the screen. Even if I never actually met up with them, it might help me feel more relaxed around them if we chat through this app every now and then. I guess it's kind of halfway towards making friends with them, without hanging out. When I shut the door behind me, a more tangible sense of relief finally starts to wash over me. I think the considerable drop in noise level and my distance from everybody else has something to do with it. Kakeru, did you talk with them? We sure did, to them, with them. They're the same thing, really. She must have been wondering about it. Not worrying too much, I hope. Yeah, I think it's fine now. Saying it out loud helps my mind to grasp it better. There's no awkwardness between me and the boys anymore, so I don't need to keep agonizing over it, even though you can't help but do that. I told them I was sick, like, don't just say that out loud, for goodness sakes. They weren't mad or anything. No, they didn't seem to be mad. They didn't seem to mind. They realised I didn't have anyone else's number, so I guess they don't blame me for it. Haruka nods with a smile. That's a relief. There's a brief silence, but it's not entirely uncomfortable. I think it's mostly down to me trying to fully let go of my stress. I didn't play very well today. In a way, it's redundant telling her that, as she probably heard at least some of it. Well, there's always tomorrow. There's always now. She shoots an empathetic look, and I feel somewhat glad of it. Do you still want to practice, or shall we leave it? I'm surprised that she'd offered to miss out the practice time just to spare my feelings, and for a moment I'm tempted to take her up on it. However, I figure it's probably best if I try and do something decent today. Let's play for a bit. Thanks for talking to me at the weekend, by the way. She turns towards me at my words, a small smile working its way onto her face. It's okay, you can, A blush creeps to her cheeks as she pauses. You can text me whenever, if you're worried or something. Embarrassing but thoughtful. I appreciate the fact that she's offering her support in any future times of need. Thanks. I will. She seems relieved at this. Her shine is slipping away again. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, see you. It's always going up and down, the situation at hand between Kakeru and whatever it is that he's going through. And then Haruka seems largely not oblivious towards her own problems, but she's sort of found her way through life. And with the many years that she's come to terms with it, trained herself to be able to live a somewhat normal life, with being blind, to then be able to accept the things that are around her. Hi Kakeru, was everything alright today? She probably referred to my conversation with her boys. I briefly mentioned the fact I couldn't contact them as I'd left the house this morning. Yeah, I don't think they're angry at me. Yeah, they seem slightly more relieved. Oh, that's good to hear. They must be nice boys then. I nod vaguely, unsure what any of the guys are really like, but they had taken my no-show pretty well at least. How was the club session? Other than that, did you enjoy it? Not exactly. I wasn't at peak performance. I wasn't so good today. It hurts to admit to them, of all people, as I know how invested they seem to be in my club activities. I could tell that they're a little No, they're not. But they're probably on my path at me directly. At least you got the rest of the week, and I bet you'll meet up with those boys at some point. I'm really not sure about that, but I nod regardless to appease her. That fixes me with a gentle look. Remember, you can invite people here any time. You only need to ask. You're referring to Haruka, aren't you, Dad? What I'm saying is that I understand, Akane. Knowing your usual standard, I'm confident that you're already coming back to form. I nod in reply, heat in my cheeks and a strong desire to end this conversation burning in my chest. Matsumo-sensei has beckoned me over as soon as class had ended. It turns out that my parents called the school this morning after I'd left, apologising for any subpar work I may have done yesterday, due to feeling tired and low after my bad weekend. To my complete embarrassment, they told Matsumo-sensei pretty much the whole thing, so he now knows I broke like a blade of grass being trodden on at the thought of meeting people. Not my finest hour, but it is a massive step forward for you. I really don't think that calling the school was necessary, but now that I think about it, I guess I did mention that I'd played badly during music club yesterday. Perhaps they thought I'd been that unfocused all day. That is indeed the truth. When you're beckoned by one thing, it hinders not just your academical performance, but your other things as well. He isn't exactly comforting at best at times. I'm not again to keep him satisfied, and he's beginning to look as though he might let me go when... Did it just get oddly quiet in here? The few students who are still in the room fall silent. The sudden drop in background volume very noticeable. The hush is then punctuated by a couple of whispered comments. Who's that? Isn't it that Fujiwara? Oh... Hey, don't be rude, okay? If you're trying to refer to her as something rude. Fujiwara Sir Haruka? What? I glance quickly at Matsumo-sensei and he nods wordlessly as if to indicate I can leave. Spin around and follow everyone's collective gaze toward the classroom door. What is she doing here? But it's nice that she's here. Haruka stands awkwardly just outside the doorway, leaning slightly and almost hugging the wall. Her cane still in her hand. The attention that she's getting in is evidently apparent to her, as she looks positively rattled. What on earth is she doing here? Being nervous myself, but wants to get the both of us somewhere more comfortable across the room, doing my best to avoid the stares that now fall onto me as I move. Haruka? She stiffens at the sound of my voice, but there's a slight sense of relief as she recognizes that it's me. Kakeru? She tries to stutter something out, but doesn't quite manage it in her fearful state. We'd better move away from the class. Here, this way. I head down the corridor, stepping slowly so that Haruka can get a sense of where I'm going. Once we're as far away from anybody as we can get, I come to a stop, turning to face her as she does the same. What brought you here? We have briefly mentioned where our respective classrooms are in the past, as we met on her flaw a couple of times. I didn't expect to ever see her mine though. She has to take a moment to calm herself, to limited success. By the time she opens her mouth to speak, her eyes aren't quite so wide, but I can tell that she's still very uncomfortable. You felt bad yesterday. I thought we could spend lunch together? That's something I expect of her, but it still doesn't explain what she's doing here. Why don't you just text me? She grimaces, looking both sheepish and regretful. Well, I hear people come to my classroom to meet their friends all the time. So you wanted to try and enact the same thing. It was really scary, but I thought you'd like it. With his admission, it seems to relax a little, acknowledging that the ordeal is over. I'm sort of stunned. She came to a part of her school that she's never been to before, and put herself on display in front of strangers just to try to make me feel wanted. I don't even know what to think. She's a very thoughtful person at the least. Watching as her breathing slows and her shoulders lower gradually, I'm getting the feeling that she hadn't fully prepared herself for just how unnerving it would be for her. I sincerely hope that she isn't too jarred by the experience. I'd hate for her to suffer on my part. I do like her, Haruka. No one's ever really called on me before. I say it both to console her and because it's true. The only time anyone's ever come to my classroom to see me was that one time a club member came to drop off the music list from Kudo Sensei, but he'd only been passing on a message, so it doesn't really count. This is different. Haruka's here because she wants to cheer me up and spend time with me. I was trying to be touched by the trouble that she's gone to. Even it had been kind of nerve-wracking to have my classmates see it, yeah. It's like the room falls silent, and then there she is. A person that's never really around this part of a school. And it's really rude to stare at somebody, for goodness sakes. She seems to calm down further upon hearing that I appreciate it. The two of us take a moment to still our nerves, ridding ourselves of the shock, and then she raises her head. So, do you want to do something? I almost smiled at her timid question, as if I'd refuse her after she went through anxiety hell to get here. Yeah, she went in the deep end for her own comfort zone anyways. Yeah, let's spend lunch together. What shall we do? Finding her expression warms up to his usual composure. I don't mind. We get to choose. This feels like a multiple choice scenario. Alright, in that case, we're going to eat lunch again together. Do you want to get lunch? It'd be nice for both of us to get away from everyone and just do something normal. After being so tense, and Haruka seems to approve. Yeah, okay. I wonder if Haruka is looking for something else other than her lunchbox. What's up? She feels around the inside of her bag one last time, before apparently giving up and looking somewhat chestfallen. I think I forgot my chopsticks. Oh no, that's annoying. She looks down into her bag a little helplessly, so I put my lunch aside for a moment. Do you want me to look? That might just be stuck behind something. Oh well, if you don't mind. Thanks. I kneel down in front of her bag, taking out the contents carefully and searching every nook and cranny for the chopsticks, but I can't find them anywhere. I wonder if somebody has pinched them. Like somebody from the school when Haruka was looking for Kakeru. Sorry, I don't think they're here. I took everything out just in case. A quiet sigh escapes her. It's okay. Thanks for looking. I put everything back how I found it and sat back down on the bench beside her. They have some in the cafeteria if we want to get some. She looks thoughtful for a moment, but ultimately her expression still remains uncomfortable. I don't think. It's just very crowded in there. I can understand her hesitance. She would have put herself through a scary ordeal to call on me not 10 minutes ago. It's no wonder she doesn't want to do it again right now. Yeah, it's always busy. We don't have to go. But how are we going to get some eating utensils? I'm hoping that she won't catch on this being a ways of an indirect kiss. Well, I don't want her to go hungry or make a mess of herself. We could always share if you want. As soon as I say those words, I regret them. I feel like that sounded like a terrible pickup line or something. I swear I'm not using this situation as an excuse to get closer to her. She's just as embarrassed as I am. Damn, I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted to help her out. We don't have to. I just thought, you forgot yours and I still have mine. Great, this is going swimmingly well. Haruka agonizes over for a moment and nods slowly. Yeah, okay, if you really don't mind. Oh, we're actually doing this. Okay. It's a very awkward scenario, but you can find comedy in the silly moments in life, or in the embarrassing moments in life. Like, it's not heinous, it's just quite silly at times. Lunch boxes on our knees. I hand Haruka the chopsticks, having already had a few bites of my own lunch. She fumbles a little as she takes them, and then sets about eating. We implement a system where each of us has a few bites of our own, and then passes the chopsticks back to the other person. It's very weird and a little uncomfortable. At least it'll probably only happen this once. Oh no, I hand Haruka the chopsticks again, and after picking up a piece of food and putting it into her mouth, she freezes her, swallowing awkwardly before speaking. I can taste your... Are you eating takoyaki? Oh no! She's a vegetarian, isn't she? I guess some of the sauce must have stuck to her chopsticks after I'd eaten. Yeah. No, you should not have mentioned this. The two of us blushed like crazy with the realization that sharing eating utensils like this is essentially creating a constant ongoing direct kiss. This is not what I thought would happen today. Haruka goes back to her food, bashfully eating a few more mouthfuls before passing the chopsticks back to me. While thinking I stuff a piece of octopus in my mouth straight away in an attempt to just get this over with, I didn't stop to think that this exchange could go both ways, and once it already too late, I get a little taste of spice in my tongue in addition to my own food. Haruka's curry! Oh boy, if it's going to be the longest lunch period of my life. Comedy, in a way. As I said, it's not heinous, it's just a little bit silly. With a couple of minutes left until a bell, Haruka and I head back to the stairs, coming to a stop at her floor. I'll see you in music club then. Yeah? I'm about to turn and leave, but I've been running the events of lunchtime through my head on the way here, and the fact that Haruka had put herself way out of her comfort zone to do something that she hoped I enjoy is really sticking in my mind. I don't think I really made it obvious how much I appreciate how thoughtful she'd been earlier, so I feel like I should say something now. By the way, thanks again for calling on me before. I know it was kind of bad for you, but I did like it. She fidgets for a moment, looking shy, but a smile does creep onto her face. It's okay. I'm glad I can make you a little bit better. To be honest, she did. I haven't thought about the weekend or yesterday's apology. Since this morning, her unexpected arrival and our lunchtime together had pushed it out of my mind. You don't have to do it again, though, if it's too much. It's the stares of everybody else and the silence that beheld upon the classroom, because she must have noticed that everyone was talking, and then when she was by the window, everyone stopped and was like, "It's her. What are you both grinning about?" So this piece is still really hard. Don't worry about it. It is tricky, but you'll get it. Indeed you shall. Indeed you will. The pair of us are working through Rondo that. Now that my group practice is over, it's proving to be pretty troublesome and my hands are starting to ache. Glancing at the clock, I see that there's not a whole lot of time left until the bell will ring anyway. So I stretch my arms above me as I lean back slightly on the piano stool. I think I'll have to stop for today. My hands are killing me. Okay, we could try again another time. How long do we have left? Just under 10 minutes. Do you mind listening to me play through something then? No, go for it. She flips to a page in her music sheet, using the braille to remind herself of a couple of things, and then brings her flute up to her mouth. And then, as she plays, I begin listening to the piece, trying to think of any helpful feedback I could give her at the end. However, about a third of the way through, my mind starts to drift. Don't do that! Don't drift! Haruka just strikes me as a good person in general. Today's events taught me that in spades. If I hadn't already been thinking of it before, and I guess I'm thinking about unworthy of being able to call someone like her a friend. Laughing to myself internally, I note that my parents would indeed approve of her. They've mentioned wanting to meet her a couple of times, and I know for a fact that her personality would be a big hit with At first it only comes into my mind as a joke, but the more I consider it, the more I wonder if something like that could actually happen. Haruka did mention the idea of us getting together outside of school again to make up for my missed outing with the boys. Yeah, the cold one with the boys. I'd certainly be capable of it if it was in my own house, but would she feel comfortable enough to come over? That's something I can't really judge, but the thought lingers as I try to push it away and listen to her flute. After another minute or so, she brings her piece to a conclusion. What do you think? Do you want to, I don't know, come over to my house sometime or something like that? It sounds good. I mentally chide myself for not being able to give a more detailed critique than that, but my attention hadn't been fully on it. Thanks. I guess we'd better pack up. She begins to get her things together and I do the same, shoving my books into my bag. However, the thought of asking her about meeting up just won't stop nagging in the back of my head, so awkwardly I decided to bring it up. She can always just say no. Haruka. She turns to face my direction curiously, her hand hovering over her music folder. Do you think you'd ever want to come over to my house? And pain of embarrassment rushes through me, and Haruka's expression grows somewhat surprised. Is that an invitation? That is indeed an invitation. Well, yeah, I guess. It's a quiet place for us to hang out, and my parents have been asking to meet you. Really? They know about me? She seems more confused than alarmed, and I realise that it might have been sounded a bit sudden to just say something like that. Yeah, I mentioned you to them just before we met at the bookstore that time. I told them that you were helping me with the pieces. To be honest, you're pretty popular in our house. I think they see you as a good influence on me. Despite growing a little nervous at the prospect, her eyebrows shoot up at this comment. Ha! That's surprising. It's not surprising at all, Haruka. We both admit a short chuckle, and then her anxiety comes a little more to the forefront. Well, I'll have to think about it. That is indeed a good idea. No, that's fine. I know you haven't been there before, but my parents are pretty chilled out. I don't think they'd ask you a million questions or anything. Yeah, right. We'll come across that bridge when the time comes. They may not ask you a million questions because they already know you, but for somebody else to come into the house and that person being the only person that's kind of encroached themselves upon Kakeru's life, I think your parents will do that, especially the mother, for goodness sakes. I think the dad would be a bit more chilled out and knows that being questioned with lots of questions would be a bad and embarrassing thing. At least I hope not. They leave me alone decently enough, so if I tell them that Haruka's also nervous around people, then they'll probably treat her similarly. Haruka nods, clearly turning the idea over in her mind. Yeah, okay. The bell clangs in the distance, which spurs Haruka back into action. Grabbing the rest of her belongings and putting them away, I follow her lead, opening the door for the both of us. Oh dear. A little bit of an awkward scenario there, but you're not overstepping your mark at all. It's just a simple get together as two friends. As we walk, Haruka seems to be deep in thought over my idea, and I hope that I've not overstepped a mark. I just figured it might be a good way for us to see each other outside of school without being in a crowded place. We reach the front of the building where we usually split off, turning to each other as usual. So, when would you want me to come over? She's evidently trying to picture how it would go, and how much time she'd need to think about it for. I don't mind. You need to give more specific details if you want to invite a friend over. Like, you can't just say any time because that is too generic and not working for. We can go back to mine after school one day if you want, and maybe look at some sheet music. I really want myself at home, but it might be good to go for it together. I say this for two reasons. First, it would generally help me out if Haruka were there to direct me, and she has a better sense of performance direction and stuff like that. Secondly, I think it might make Haruka more comfortable if we have a set activity to do while at my house. It would take some of the uncertainty out of it if she knew that we'd mostly just be studying sheet music. At least that's how I think I feel. I'll let her know exactly what I'm going to be doing each day, hence why attending the music club for the first few times was so scary to me, as I had no idea what it would entail. It seems to be have been a good intent, as Haruka's tense expression lifts a little. Ah, that's a good idea. Well, let me think about it. Is that okay? Absolutely. Of course. There's no rush. At my laid-back reply, she starts to relax, nodding and looking a little bit more like her usual self. Okay, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow then. Not wanting to hold her up or make her feel uncertain about things any longer, I let her go. Yeah, see you tomorrow. Haruka's texted. I talked to my parents about coming over and they're okay with it. Is tomorrow after school too soon? Tomorrow? I didn't expect that at all. I had thought she'd want at least a few days to think about it, considering that she'd been so worried about it earlier. Thinking it was strange, I'd tap out a reply. I'll have to check with my parents too. Just give me a minute. Placing the phone back onto the desk, I stand up to leave the room, but I'm barely reaching the door before it goes off again. We must have been typing at the same time. Going back to the desk, I read Haruka's message. Sorry it's so sudden. I think I just want to do it soon so I don't worry about it too much. Oh, I guess that makes sense. One day of nerves is better than a week. No problem. Be right back. And I make it downstairs without another message interrupting me this time. I'd overlook hard for my parents who are sitting together on the couch watching TV. When I approach them timidly, both of them look at me as though they're witnessing a rare and splendorous event, like an eclipse or something. I endure their gaze and clear my throat. Something you need, son? God, this is bizarre. I'm not sure I've ever asked my parents anything like this in my life. Do you think Haruka could come over after school tomorrow? Both of them goggle at each other for a moment as if wondering if they misheard me, and then their faces positively explode with joy. Yes, of course, Kakeru. We're finally get to meet. Oh, for goodness sakes. Couldn't you be a little bit more considerate for your son's sake, for goodness sakes? I'm not. Feeling like every drop of blood in my body is now in my head. I can't remember the last time I saw my parents look this pleased. Wonderful, this is so exciting. She glances at Dad again and they share a smile. I feel pretty awkward, but I guess I'm glad that they're happy about this. There's just one thing I need to get straight. Just so you know, hope this doesn't go down badly. Haruka's blind. She's a bit nervous, like me. Understatement of the year, but let's go with it. She just needs some space. I stumble over how to elaborate, feeling inadequate and clumsy, but they both seem to understand what I'm saying, though they look a little shocked for a moment, and they nod and recover their composures. Tell her not to worry. We'll make sure that you two are comfortable. Yeah, it'll be fine. That went better than I thought it might. My parents are used to dealing with me, but I don't think they've ever known a blind person. I'd hate for Haruka to feel awful after coming here, because they aren't sure how to approach her. However, it seems as though they're okay with it, so I nod in acknowledgement and thanks. We talk a little longer, mostly about how long Haruka will stay and what we'll need, if anything, and then they let me go so I can update her on the news. Hell yeah. Plans are starting to move forward, but this could also be time for a mishap to happen. Something uncomfortable in their friendship might accidentally pop up in conversation or something like that. Heading back to my room, the weirdest feelings rise in my stomach. I've just never really done this before, and it feels odd to be typing out a message like this to Haruka. Tomorrow's fine. My parents say they won't crowd us too much and they'll make some food if we want. As we take shoes off to be ether, I find myself sort of grinding to a halt, standing there with my phone in my hand and trying to comprehend my feelings, but I manage to snap out of it. I'll go reply and... Great, I'll go with you. And then my parents will pick me up afterwards, if that's okay. And now I need to provide Haruka with my address so they know where to pick me up from. Sounds good. And that's it. This is happening. I'm bringing a friend home from school tomorrow. I stand there a minute longer, trying to make sense of the thoughts swirling around in my head, and then I realise that it's not just nerves and strangeness that I feel. There's a hint of excitement there too. Oh yeah. Okay, thanks for inviting me. I'll look forward to it. I think I will too. Indeed we shall. Or you can just put them away now that you've got some time to be able to sort your room out, not just kicking them under the bed. Like, that's what my brother did with clothing. Like, he used to spread his clothes all over the floor, and that's even ironed clothes that Mum did. And then, as a temporary fix, he would stuff his clothes that were on the floor on the bottom of the wardrobe, the bottom of the bed. It's just no getting around it, for goodness sakes. Like, you can't do something that quickly. As they slide outside, I realise how this might look. I'm not expecting Haruka to be coming to my room for any weird reasons. We're just going to study some sheet music. Yeah, no weird reasons. Get that thought out of your head, man. Despite the fact that I'm alone, my cheeks still burn with embarrassment. I swear I'm not Stop thinking of that. Don't go there then, man. I kneel down to start untangling some cables hanging out of my games console when something else hits me. I'm an idiot. Haruka won't know how much of a mess my room may or may not be, because she won't see it. Creating in my head and my hands sheepishly, I just spare at my own stupidity. Yeah, but the thought counts. What if she slips over something because you left it on the floor, for goodness sakes? Well, I guess it'd still be useful to clear up anyway. So there's nothing that she can trip over. Yes, exactly! I feel like the biggest dumbass on the planet. I go back to neating up the cables. Ah, how do you feel you're doing, Akane? Not too much for you? My hands are so stiff from this tough performance. I shake my head, not wanting to seem problematic, although, to be honest, thanks to Haruka's help, I'm not finding the club experience to be terribly overwhelming anymore. I still struggle to play certain pieces, of course, and I definitely don't feel like a real part of the group, but I've made a bit of progress, so I guess that's something. Good. You might have had a shaky start when you first arrived, but you're getting there steadily. I like that work ethic. Yeah, gradually building up to be able to get to somewhere which you want to be. He winks at me impishly. Impish. Imp. And I bow my head, a little flustered. He is a pretty nice guy, although moments like this get me embarrassed. Stay on course like that and you'll be fine. Remember, you can always let me know if you're struggling with anything. Anything. I nod in reply and he grins again before leaving me be, heading off to catch up with other group members. Hi Haruka. When she doesn't reply straight away, I whip around to her face after closing the door, wondering what's going on. The look on her face is uncomfortable as she wrings her hands around her flute, almost as she's trying to squeeze water out of it. Hey, are you okay? There's a short pause before she speaks again. Is tonight still happening? Yes, it is. Yeah, why wouldn't it be? She nods, her eyes wander around the room in agitation. Okay, just making sure. Sorry. This is very embarrassing and very new for both of them. Her shoulders snag a little in shame, despite the visible tension in her body. I'm just nervous. I can't blame her for feeling so anxious. I'd be doing the same thing if I were in her shoes. If I was to be invited by her over to hers, I'd feel a little bit embarrassed. We're on behalf of Kakeru, by the way, guys. It's alright. Before I can think of anything comforting to say, she pipes up again. I just hope your parents don't think, well, you know, they won't be judgmental at all, or prejudiced. The most important thing about a person is who you are like. Who you are like as a person. God, I'm terrible with words. Who you are like as a person. Not what you look like. Not your hair colour, not your eye colour, or whether the fact if you're blind or deaf or crippled or anything like that. The most important thing about a person is who you are, is who you're like. Your individuality, how nice you are. Are you a nice person or not a nice person? And if you're not a nice person, then get the hell out of here. They already know, I told them, and they're fine with it. The last thing I want is for Haruka to think my parents will see her as some sort of freak. How the hell would people think that? Seriously, they won't make you feel bad. They can't wait to meet you. She nods hesitantly, seeming to relax slightly. Okay, some people just ask too many questions. Her brow creases, and I imagine that she's probably recalling times when people have reacted to the issue in a negative way. I empathize with her, sadly, having plenty of memories of it happening to me too. Yeah, okay. She nods again, seeming to be consoling herself, and decides not to finish whatever she was about to say. I begin to feel awkward for putting her through this. You really don't have to come, if it's too much. No. She's quick to refute my comment. I want to. Ah, it's not because of the fact that you've been invited, but it's the fact that you, from the invitation, want to do that. You thought about it, and you want to do this for yourself and for your parents, for your friend, for your friend's parents. There's a short silence between us, and though she's blushing profusely, there had been a slightly more resolute tone to her voice just then. I guess she does want to go through with it. I'm happy with that, as long as she doesn't feel pressured. Okay, my parents are pretty relaxed, so it'll be alright. She seems to appreciate the reminder somewhat, and then she makes a visible effort to pull herself together. Shall we practice? Absolutely, that's why we are here, aren't we not? Well, my house is this way. I won't walk too fast. Thanks. I've never been that way before, so, if you could let me know if there are any steps or anything coming up, that would be great. Aha, yes. Because she would memorize the route that she would go down when getting back to her house, so therefore she would know how many steps to take and when to know when there's a step. This might be the most vulnerable I've seen Haruka. I know that her cane must help her out when she's navigating, but evidently going somewhere new is an awkward and uncertain experience. Yeah, don't worry. I'll do my best to guide her as we walk, although I've never done anything like this before. Alright. She moves to stand alongside me, signaling timidly that she's ready to set off, and I turn and face the direction we need to go in. Awkwardly, we make the journey together. And most of the time Haruka maintains a short distance from me, though close enough that she can probably sense and hear my footsteps. Luckily, most of the streets are pretty flat and linear in this area, so there's not much I have to warn her about. Are you sure? But once we get onto the home stretch, things become a little trickier, although it's completely my fault. Without thinking, I take one of my regular shortcuts. It involves slipping between two buildings and hopping down the raised platform, but they're onto the street below. I'm so used to doing it that my body just goes into, no man, don't go into autopilot, that's the worst thing. As soon as my front foot hits the ground, I realise how difficult I've made this. Haruka, turn back to her quickly. There's a big step down here, just in front of you. Sorry. Okay. She pauses for a moment, using her cane to map out where the platform ends and the length of the drop. And after assessing it, she steps down gingerly. Unfortunately, the gap had still been a little bigger than she thought, and she wobbles for a moment, unsteadily with only one foot on the ground. Come on, man, go to her rescue! Reflexively, her hand shoots out to grab something to steady herself up, and due to her proximity, the thing that she happens to take hold of ends up being my arm. Well, the sudden contact jolts me, but more out of a surprise than anything else. She hadn't put much weight on me, so I don't stumble or anything. It's just that kind of contact. Haruka has regained her balance, realizes she's been holding on to me, and her face grows as alarmed as mine probably is. The two of us freeze in place, embarrassed over the physical contact. This is the first time either of us have touched each other. Oh, sorry! She withdraws her hand quickly, her cheeks reddening. No, it's okay. I honestly can't remember the last time anybody... Okay, probably whenever I last saw a doctor or a dentist. I'm glad you didn't fall. Yeah... It's my bad. I do apologise. I'm a bad navigator. The two of us linger in the awkwardness, reading slightly, but then I figure that it's best to just keep things moving. We're nearly there. Haruka nods, still a little perturbed, and we continue shiftfully on our way. I curse myself harshly for not thinking ahead when it came to the route Haruka and I would take. No more shortcuts. Now that we have arrived, without any more awkward moments, I open the door for Haruka, allowing her to enter the house. She patters in slowly, understandably unsure of herself, and I slip my shoes off, grabbing a pair of the white slippers my parents keep by the door for guests. Okay folks, this will be a good time to end things off. We're at a cliffhanger at the moment of the story where things will probably get a little bit closer for these two, for their friendship, you know, get to know each other a little bit more within the confines of one of the two people's houses, and just winding down a little way where they will both get to know each other a bit more. That is all. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This is a lovely little tale so far. Like, going through different people's really big health, mental issues is a good way to reflect upon oneself and our own different issues in our own lives. We're all dealing with something that is very big. Whether if you want to come up about it and be honest with yourself and say, look, I have this, I have that. Am I coping with it? Am I struggling to cope with it? It doesn't matter what it is. We all have something in our lives that we feel like we have been affected by it. Thank you all so much for watching Steve Wars in the next time of Venus Improbable Dream. Thank you all so much for watching, folks, and take care of yourselves.